Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason live on this Thursday. Wow, February 16th. Man, February's almost done. That's that short, weird month, right? You only got 28 days unless it's a leap year. I don't know. It's hard to figure, but man, the first 2 months of the year are almost past us. And Jason, we got another shocker out this morning. The producer price index came out and it was red hot. And it looks like, you know what? It just looks like, let's call it what it is. Jay Powell is weak. He's a weak man. We've talked about this in the past. Arthur Burns and Jimmy Carter. Now we've got Jay Powell and Joe Biden. It's the same setup. Because I'm telling you right now, he just came out and made a bunch of bald-faced lies about disinflation and all this stuff. All these numbers. Listen, the Fed has access to all of this stuff. This is something where I think they want to believe that what they've done, and listen, it was them. They've done it, right? Nobody told them to have interest rates at zero for 15 years. No one told them to take their balance sheet to $9 trillion. But that's what they chose to do. And guess what? Now we are going to pay the price for it. They didn't want to admit when inflation started and that, that ridiculousness of transitory. I wonder how long, I think it's already time to retire disinflation, Jason.
Yeah, I guess when they are disreporting things, I guess it would make it difficult to know what's really going on.
Come on, man!
They have to disreport the numbers so that they can have, it feels like they're trying to hold the dam together, right? That the dam's going to break and they'll do anything they can to keep it from breaking, right, Joe?
That's it. 800-951-0592. John Paulson, we talked about him yesterday. Everybody's saying the same thing. Robert Kiyosaki, Jeffrey Gundlach, Ray Dalio. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on and on. Listen, we know how this plays. We've seen the movie before. They may not want to admit. They may want to say it's different. But it's kind of like the Fast and the Furious. Is it any different? I know there was number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. I think we're on number 10, right? It's the same damn movie. Everybody needs to get a grip. Here's the reality. Rates have to go much higher than anybody thought or anybody wanted to admit. This whole debt bubble, Jason, it's starting to crater. The 10-year note closing in now on 4%. All the guys, all that mortgage optimism from the home builders just got crushed in the last week as rates have moved significantly higher already. Metzger, Fed Governor Metzger, she was out this morning, and you know what, hey, she could have done a show for us. Almost, she didn't admit it, but maybe we made a mistake. And we should have went 50 basis points in February, hinting that maybe, and I don't think they'll do it. They don't have the balls to do it. But maybe going back to 50 basis points in March, that's how hot the number was. PPI, so this is the producer. So these are the ones, hey, we're going to make the stuff that you need to buy, okay? We make it, you buy it. They said month over month, inflation was up 0.7%. You annualize that, Jason, that's 8.5% if you do that every single month. I mean, that doesn't sound anything close to disinflation. They do the same game too. Oh, wow, take the core. The core was even worse. They were expecting 0.3. The core was up 0.5%. So that's 6% at the core. Jason, it's just not a good picture.
No, it's not, Joe. And I don't know if a 0.5 point really would have made that much of a difference anyways, Joe. They're behind. And if inflation is going to stay really high, then they have to push it a lot harder than they've already pushed.
I think it makes a huge difference. I think these guys are stuck in this 0.25 point thing. And again, why did I start the show with this as a weak man? because the only reason they don't fight, they don't care about us. Listen, they don't give a crap that you had to pay $10 for a dozen eggs. They don't care that the average middle-class person can't afford a new car. I'm not talking about a house, I'm talking about a car. But that's middle-class living? Since when is that middle? I got to rent a house and I've got to lease a car. Or I've got to buy a used one because you know what? I can't afford a $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 car payment. I mean, it's insanity. They don't care. They don't care. Right? They just don't want to see the collapse. Listen, this collapse is coming. As sure as I'm sitting here, there is no way that the house of cards that's built on debt can stay here when you've got inflation. It looks like, basically this is inflation's roaring again.
Last year was already a bad year, wasn't it, Joe? I mean, if you look at it, last year was 2022 was a pretty bad year already. When you look back at what's going to be these next few years and counting 2022 and even through 2020, it's going to look like it started in 2022, Joe. So it's already been going. It's just been going slow. So I'm with you. At some point, it seems like it's going to be a fast drop, but right now it just seems to keep grinding.
I don't know about fast, right? When does it happen? Okay, so they're going to make it happen slower by going 1/4 of a point at a time. Well, based on this number, guess what? You're still going to be raising rates in 2024 based on this number. Yeah, good luck. 800-951-0592. We'll be right back. Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason on this Thursday. 800-951-0592 is our toll-free number. We've got another great item that we're going to put on sale. It's going to be very limited, but be ready for that. allamericangold.com is the website. A quick look here at the markets. The Dow's down 250. It's better. I mean, it was down over 400 today. The S&P's down 30. The Nasdaq's down 75. Gold and silver hanging in. I'm surprised. This is a really hot inflation number. But again, I think at some point, all of a sudden, too much inflation is going to be a bad thing again. And so gold and silver finding some support here, pretty flat. Gold's down $1 at 18.33. Silver's down 2 cents, $21.55. This market recap brought to you by our friends at Y Refi. And think about this. Metzger, she's still talking right now, said, I saw a compelling case for a 50 basis point rate hike at the last meeting. And then Jay Powell came out and said, what was it, February 1st, 2 weeks ago? Jay Powell came out 2 weeks ago and was talking about disinflation. Guess what? Y Refi doesn't care. It doesn't care. Hey, Double just said if you're only going to go 1/4 point based on these new inflation numbers, heck, you're going to be raising 1/4 point every meeting for the rest of this year and into next year. Y Refi doesn't care. Up to 10.25%. Jay Powell can be the biggest pansy of all time, and they still won't care. Invest, yrefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com, or 888 Y Refi 24. Remember, you got to have at least $50,000. You know that. Unfortunately, back when, remember when 50,000 was like a lot of money? Like 50,000, guess what? That's less than the average price of a new vehicle now. Think about that, but you can use an existing IRA. Some of you may be lucky enough to actually use your existing 401k, but call them, find out. They'll let you know all the details. Invest, yrefi.com. And Jason, we had other economic data out besides the PPI report. Let's start with Philly Fed. Philly Fed, which when you think about the PPI report and inflation being as hot as it was, you would think the Philly Fed, the New York Fed, the Chicago, because that's a manufacturing index. You would think that these numbers would be really good. Because usually, hey, hot inflation means we got a lot of demand. Philly Fed just had the worst reading since COVID, negative 24 in change, way into the negative. And Jason, it's one of those head scratchers. You're like, well, gosh, you shouldn't have inflation when you have recessionary signals. But Jason, this is kind of what stagflation looks like, isn't it? We had housing starts way down. That makes a lot of sense. I think we haven't even begun to see the full effects of what's happening in the housing market. Yesterday, they told us mortgages down 43% year over year. Remember, I told you, I think we'll get to 50% plus. That's incredible. Can you imagine? Hey, we're going to sell 50% less houses this year than we did last year. By the way, that 10-year note spiking just this week alone, the spike in the 10-year note, let's just check in on that real quick. Let's see where we're at right this second here. 385. And of course, that's so far below. It's kind of funny. 385, how horrible it is. But that's going to put your mortgage down. The mortgage has got to just above 6. Jason, we're going to be close to 7. That's going to add another $200-300 to everybody's mortgage payment, making it makes the problem even worse, doesn't it?
Yeah, you get the foreclosures coming in, which will go up also, and then that rate will creep up even higher. Because when the banks can't get their payments and foreclosing, Joe, they'll push that interest on your mortgage even higher. Because if your buddy down the road can't pay it, then somebody's going to pay it, right, Joe? Someone's going to have to pay what the bank needs.
We're going to have to keep our eye on rent. I think that's going to be big. I shared with everybody one of the biggest Airbnbers in Arizona. They have 95 Airbnb properties, 95, which is, hey, they're short-term rentals. They were half empty during Super Bowl and Phoenix Open. I mean, that's insanity. Half empty. That means no revenue, right? Are these houses going to end up on the market, right? Are we going to see that? If maybe the people out there, maybe you've got 1 or 2 rental properties. Man, well, all of a sudden, rents, at least here in Phoenix and Arizona, rents for houses has started to fall dramatically. Places that were asking $5,000, $6,000, they're now asking $3,000, $4,000, and Jason, if they don't get that, eventually, hey, do you rent it out and the mortgage is more than the rent? I don't know.
Yeah, you're right, and that'll turn into a whole lot of sales too, or attempts to sell, and then that'll drive the housing prices down too. So yeah, it's both sides, Joe. It's definitely
both sides. And again, remember the debt bubble. They can't have these debts, these derivatives that are they like off balance sheet. They're off balance sheet. So it's fine. What the hell does off balance sheet mean? Well, it means that we're on the hook for it, but we just don't want to tell you about it, because if we put it on the balance sheet, then all of a sudden people wouldn't feel so good about having all that money in the bank. So we call it off balance sheet. It's off balance sheet. Well, guess what? Lehman was off balance sheet. Bear Stearns was off. They were off balance sheet, Jason, right until they weren't off balance sheet. And how?
Yeah, in fact, the only thing different between 08 and now is I don't think there's as much corrupt in the mortgage-backed securities. I don't think the ratings companies are so corrupt this time around, Joe. Which is why I think it's
down to the rentals. I think it's now the rentals, right? This is what we got to watch for. All the Airbnbs and all that stuff. If that stuff comes to an end, then you got the same problem, don't you? All these houses got to hit the market because, hey, the investor's like, hey, we're losing money. We got a mortgage payment to make, and we got no revenue coming in. It's going to be interesting, something new. Same but different, right? Same but different. And then last but not least, we had jobless claims. And again, we keep waiting. Well, guess what? The wait is going to have to continue. Jobless claims was up, but not a lot. Still in the 190s, which is not that's not good if you're wanting rate hikes to end. The one, I guess, if the one bad thing in it is what we're seeing now is if you do lose your job, it looks like they're struggling to find a job. And my guess is these are probably the techies that are struggling. If you lose your job as a waitress or a bartender or working at a retail shop, you can find another one. I think you can find another one. But some of these more skilled jobs, Jason, they're not having that luck. Continuing claims just jumped to the highest level in over a year. 1.9 million people said, hey, I can't find work.
Yeah, that's going to be climbing, Joe. We've been talking about those companies that are slowly coming in with those cutting down their labor force, here and there. They really started in the tech center, the tech sector. They were cutting last year. Now I'm starting to see it, Joe. In my circle of people that I know, there's a lot of people that the job situations are changing drastically, or they've been cut loose. So I always like to look at my local area, and Colorado's a pretty booming area. I think Arizona is too. We're not in depressed areas, but I'm starting to see the change in jobs, or the change in the companies these people are working for. I'm starting to see it more, Joe. It's happening around me, and usually when it starts happening around me, that's when you actually see the real numbers. These numbers you've been calling for, Joe. It's going to happen. It's happening. Let's face it, the Fed made it their goal, right?
Yeah, well, that's what they said, right? Somehow they're going to wave a magic wand, and only a couple million people are going to lose their jobs. UPS said they're going to start layoffs in regions of the country. Kind of to Jason's point. Hey, some parts are okay, other parts not happening. UPS saying there's been a big decrease in demand, which is another bellwether here, right? We've got so many conflicting data points here. So they're going to announce layoffs in certain regions of the country. Nestle, the candy maker, said, hey, guess what? We're raising prices again. Everything's getting more and more expensive. So Jason, today we got a little bit of everything today. We got some numbers that said, holy crap, inflation is roaring. It's not good. And then you had a couple of pieces of data points that said, man, things are very good. This is classic stagflation. It really is, where you run into this scenario where everything's costing more, but things aren't great.
Right, Joe. In stagflation, the wages don't keep up with the inflation. That's you get stagnant. And I know a lot of people got a lot of raises last year. They were, the companies are trying to keep up with it, but at some point, the companies are like, well, the best way to keep up with it is just to cut down everything we're doing and cut down the labor force.
That is stopped. I talked to Jason. I was talking to Jason earlier. I reached out to several of my business owners out there, and really a picture of, hey, you know what? We're busy. We're not slow. We're not too busy, but we're busy. It's like, hey, I've got the same 2 or 3 spots that I always can't fill. Right? I need a really good waitress. I hire a waitress, but they're never in. It's a revolving door, right? I keep hiring. But it's the same job, right? That they can't find that right person for. But the big thing that came out of it, we talked about pay, and all of them across the board were like, oh yeah, no, I'm not paying anybody any more money. I already did that. There's no big raises coming this year, Jason. That was kind of a theme, and that's where you get the stagflation.
Exactly. And something else, Joe, it makes me wonder what's going on, because we're expecting something to happen, and it's taking longer and longer for this crash that we're looking for, whether it be a slow over a couple of months, or if it's going to be something that happens really fast and hard. We don't have the mortgage-backed security problem, like I said earlier, Joe. But I'm wondering, I've seen a bunch of credit cards being thrown at everybody, and I'm wondering if you just keep throwing all these credit cards. We have a whole new generation of people that now are living off of just, let's make the minimum payment or make the payment and then get another credit card and make the payment, right? I think those people, this new generation, I don't think they've experienced what it's like to crash and burn in a bankruptcy, Joe. I don't think it's happened yet. So it's like I say, it seems like it's a timed event. Something I think it's timing it more for later this year or next year. And one thing you can do to keep it floating, keep those people in the restaurants, Joe, give them more credit cards, right?
Well, let me tell you right now, we know credit card balances are all-time record highs. That's not a good thing, right? We know that. Goldman Sachs, they are the leader in what we'll call subprime credit, subprime credit cards. They announced yesterday, hey, we want to get out. We want to sell it. That's not a good sign, right? That tells you that, hey, people are starting to struggle here. Cars, autos, the repo man. Have you been watching? Repo man's been hanging out again lately, hasn't he? Be very, very interesting where it starts. But again, the debt cards, it's stacked against them right now. 800-951-0592. $800-951-0592. Gold's up 4, 1838. Silver is up 8 cents now, 21.65. At some point, right? Gold's not going anywhere. Gold's not going anywhere. And I think today is one of those days where even with the hot inflation, even with one of the Fed governors, she won't say it the way I'm going to say it. They messed up. They made a mistake. They went to a quarter of a point. And again, though, they've been wrong about this inflation thing from day one. But this is why you put the gold away. This is why everybody and their mother is telling you to put it away. We've got a another great deal today. And this is coming from what we're going to sell today. This is a client, a long time client of ours. He owns property, and the neighbor's property, land, went up for sale, and he doesn't want someone to buy it and put a house on it. So he's going to buy this land. So he sold some gold to us. I've got 30 $10 liberties. So that's the half ounce, the $10 liberty. I only got 30 of them. They're normally, and it's 1,090. That's a fair price, 1,090. I've got 30 of them at 1,025. So think about this. We've been running those 20s at 2,050. You can get 2 10s for that super hot 20 price at 1,025. I got 30. And then I got 20 Saints. These are going to be the St. Gaudens, the $20 St. Gaudens. We've been selling the liberties at 2,050. These are absolutely going to be Saints. Same price, 2,050. So I've got $20 St. Gaudens at 2,050, and then I've got 30 $10 liberties at $1,025 at 800-951-0592, and those will be in the Phoenix office tomorrow. And Colorado, we'll have them up to Colorado no later than Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So if you're picking up, if you're not picking up and shipping, like I said, this product will be here tomorrow. He's driving it in for us. 800-951-0592. And think about it. Just since last 2 Fridays ago, 2 weeks, remember, gold did very well at Jay Powell's press conference when he lied to everybody and said, and we're looking at disinflation. That's what he said. Metzger just came out today and said, whatever, I wanted 50 basis points. I saw a compelling case, almost like I don't want to say, but listen, they know this guy's weak. They know he's weak. That's why gold is so popular right now, because we got a weak guy in there. We don't have Paul Volcker. If we had Paul Volcker in there, right, gold would probably be $1,600, because you know what? Right now, the Fed funds rate, Jason, would probably be somewhere close to 7%, 8%. It's not anywhere close to that.
Yeah, they should have been raising the rates a lot faster in 22 than they did, Joe. They probably should have been raising them in late 2021, and they should have been a little more aggressive and then got on top of this. So this quarter point hike every meeting, which is I think what they're going to go to. I think are they going to get on top of it? Or is inflation going to sort of stay ahead of their quarter point rate hikes? I mean, who knows, right, Joe? I think
See, that's
extreme
the problem.
inflation was coming regardless.
Think about great point, Jason. Think about today's number. On the PPI side, 0.7%. Even the core, remember, right? J. Powell, super core. Yeah, if you're all homeless, right, inflation's only so bad. But think about 0.7%, and you're raising 0.25%. That dog doesn't hunt, right? That doesn't work. That's not how inflation works. This is why I call Jay Powell Arthur Burns. Why did Paul Volcker get so much credit? Because Paul Volcker understood I'm going to have the Fed funds rate higher than the inflation rate, and that's how we're going to crush it. Jay Powell doesn't want to do it, doesn't have the balls to do it. And of course, though, here's the problem. When Arthur Burns was around, the debt wasn't even $1 trillion. Right? Paul Volcker did have that advantage, didn't he? Right? We had $1 trillion in 1981, paying 20% interest on, and let's say at the time, they probably had to roll over $300 billion a year. I mean, it's not great, but it's doable. Now, fast forward to today, right? Paying 5, 6, 7, 8% interest on, we got a $40 trillion problem here, and probably somewhere around 15 trillion's got to be rolled over. Jason, we got a problem.
Yeah, it's another reason why you might need 87,000 new IRS agents to squeeze the public for every dime they got to tax the people to get the money for that interest, right? You need every dollar, right, Joe?
By the way, the special is sold out. So just to let you know, we are out. Just got handed a note here. It'll go like that sometimes. So that special's out. I'll work on something. I got some 20 lives, not very many at the 2050. Take those. Believe me, take those. But this is what's going to happen. We've got a situation here where, you know what? Shame on me, Jason, because I was buying into it. I was like, man, slower inflation in October, November, December, right? It all was adding up. And wait, but I kept saying, where are the jobs? Where's the job losses? Where's the job losses? Well, guess what we found out? Inflation wasn't going lower. Not nearly as low as they said it was. And now all of a sudden, guess what? Gasoline went up a little bit. I got news for everybody. You know when gas starts getting expensive again? April.
Yep.
May, June. We're not even there yet. Right? This is the cheap season for gas. Let's not forget that. The producers, Jason, they were talking about gas prices again. I'm like, I mean, come on, man. It went from, here it went from like $3.30 to $3.50. It wasn't like it went to $4 or $5.
You said you went for that narrative, about the lowering the rate hikes and
I did. I fell for it.
I was there. It was kind of like the end of the Super Bowl, where the Chiefs he's running in towards the end zone, and then he just slides and stops. And no touchdown yet.
Right.
It's not actually happening, is it, Joe?
Listen, all I can do is go with the data they give me. I fell for it, and guess what? It ain't happening. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. (800-951-0592). Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour on this Thursday. Gold 1838, standing tall today anyway, after that red hot PPI inflation number. This is just ridiculous. It really truly is. The narrative from 2 weeks ago to today just really just tells you we've got a problem. We've got weak men leading this country, plain and simple. And that's why you're seeing all the big guys telling you to get into these gold markets. Don't wait. Robert Kiyosaki, don't wait. Get in right now. Just to let people know, the $20 liberties. I just talked to Brittany and Arlene. We've got about 23 20s left. Here's the problem. When we sell those through, then we got to go back to regular price, and regular price is $2,095. So save $45 here. Take advantage. We ran and it goes just that quick. Look at the sale we ran. That lasted 3 minutes? One phone call. It's nothing. That's nothing. Get it handled. If you're new, just call up and tell Brittany, hey, I want the special. Ready for it? Here's our real hard question. How many would you like? I mean, that's really it. We're not like other dealers. We don't call. We don't make outbound phone calls. We're not going to harass you at dinner. You order from us. You never hear from us again unless you call us. It's just how we do things. Every time you place an order, we give you a trade number. You're locked in. From that moment on, you're locked in. Gold could go up $40 and you don't pay any more. Conversely, it goes the other way too. Hey, it goes down $40, you don't get to pay any less. We're locked in. I'm going to deliver you that gold at that price. You can pay for it with credit card. You got to add 2%. And believe me, nobody does too. Everybody charges 3% and 4%. I'm not there yet. I need to be, but I'm not doing it yet. Still 2% on a credit card. We take Visa, MasterCard, Discover, Amex. We take them all. Why? Because we're reputable. That's why. You can pay for it with a check. You put a check in the mail. If you're local, we have offices in Colorado. We have an office here in Arizona. You want to come in and pay cash or bring your check, whatever it may be, great. And then you can take the product with you. If we ship to you, we charge $35 and we ship FedEx, mainly FedEx. If some people are like, oh, I don't like my FedEx guy, we can ship post office or UPS, but our primary mode of shipping is FedEx. By the way, gold's now up 1842. So I think anyway, maybe the selling's done here. Get in while the prices are low. 800-951-0592. And Jason, this is the problem. Already, think about 2022, $800 billion in interest. And now, all of a sudden, the disinflation myth is starting to blow up in the face. And how high are rates going? How high are rates going?
Joe, I expected inflation to subside at this part of 2023, and then either middle or later this year, or even next year. I expected inflation to blow up. This is not something. If you look at the history, and I know that we're in a different situation, but it doesn't just happen and then just kind of goes away. It's like a temporary problem. It just kind of flares up and flares up a couple of times, 3 times, 4 times. So I was expecting it to come up, but Joe, if we can't even get through February, and then let's just say March comes out and the CPI is even higher, or if it stays at 6.5 or goes up towards 7, and then these other numbers get a little hotter too. I mean, how bad will it get? I mean, it could get. I mean, you get a break from it, and the market tries to adjust to it. But right now, I'm not even seeing much of an adjustment.
Everyone was thinking 5 to 5.5. Right, that's what the Fed had been saying. That doesn't work with these numbers, right? That right now, to Jason's point, if this thing doesn't get below 6, right, it stays at 6, 6.4, 6.5. Heaven forbid it goes higher again. 5 to 5.5, Jason, won't get it done.
Yeah, your month-over-month numbers, Joe, make it sound like it's going to be 7 next month. That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, it's what it sounds like, right? So
listen, I'm sure they'll throw some seasoning salts at it and some other stuff at it. But here's the problem. The manufacturers and the retailers can't seasonally adjust their stuff. The bottom line is if you charge Walmart more, they're going to charge you more. And guess what? If you charge the producer more to get the stuff that he needs to make the product, he's going to charge the retailers more. It's just simple math. It's just that simple. You can't
Exactly,
seasonally adjust that stuff.
I do the 2-year CPI numbers, but think about this. Let's go back to the March's number. Last March's number, which came out in April, 8.5. So this is when it was on its way up. It was getting bad last year, but that's 8.5 over a year that it was only 2.6 the year before. The number we just got was 6.4 over a year that was previously 7.5 higher. That's tremendously worse than the March number of last year, which was 8.5, which is a higher number, 2% higher, right, Joe? But it was only over a year previous that was 2.6. See, so these numbers could be really tricky, right, Joe? It could be very tricky if you have a year that's 7.5, which is their fake number already. They adjusted in 1980, and it's 6.4% higher the year over that, the next year over that. What's it going to be when we get to March and the previous year was 8.5? If we're still at 6.5, Joe, over that 8.5 year, that's worse, isn't it? Wouldn't you consider that worse? I consider it worse, Joe.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, it's so easy. It really is. Very, very, very simple. And when we get back, we only got like 4 minutes. I don't even need 4 minutes. I'm going to explain to you how simple it really is coming up next. 800-951-0592. $800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. We got 15 $20 Liberties left, and then that special is going to be sold out at $2,050. Gold is up 7 at 1842. And I told you, listen, this is simple, guys. We're going to have inflation until they took my car because I couldn't make the payment. Now I can't go to work. I couldn't make the payment on my credit card. I'm at collections, which means I can't go out and go to the restaurant. I can't go to the store and buy things on my credit card. Then, and only then, will we see a fall in demand, which then leads to the stores and the bars and the restaurants and the hotels to start laying people off, which then means there's even less demand and more people can't pay their credit cards, and more people can't pay their rent, and more people can't pay their auto loans, which means now we've got even less demand, which means more people get fired. You know how the drill works. And Jason, I'm going to tell you right now, rates are not going to go down. They're going to keep going up until this happens, period. It's that simple.
And Joe, this is how people that are wealthy and have planned ahead for this is how they take the assets and the resources of those that are not prepared and make it their own. Is you have a cycle like this where things are getting tight, getting tough, and people have to, Joe, let's face it, if you're somebody that's trying to stay out of debt, you may just sell all your gold. You may sell all your possessions. You might sell some property and just to stay ahead of this thing, right, Joe? This is why you need to be ahead of this thing. You need to have these things set aside so that you don't have to suffer what a lot of people are going to be suffering, Joe. I mean, let's face it, you got nothing saved and put back. You're at the bottom of this thing, Joe. This is excruciating what's going to happen.
Yeah, and again, for most people, they never see it coming. They see, oh well, yeah, gosh, you know what? I've got a higher balance, and think about this: every 6 weeks, the interest on your credit card goes up because they're raising rates. Whatever car you're going to buy, the payment is going to be more expensive because they're raising rates. Houses, right? The payment's going to be more expensive because they're going to be raising rates. And again, Jason, they're going to be raising rates till people can't afford to pay, period. And once they can't afford to pay, that's when the demand starts going, and that's when the layoffs come, and it's a vicious cycle.
It's exactly true. Exactly true, Joe. So,
it's not complicated. Listen, it's simple.
I want to say congrats to the guy that picked up those 3010s. That's where my mind's go, Joe. That's a good buy. Congrats, right, Joe? That's the way you're supposed to do it. So,
listen, I don't know. Go ahead, Jason. I don't know who's going to call. We don't know. We run them, and some days they go, some days they don't.
We're getting ready to end the show. I just wanted to do a little tease of the half-empty cup of Joe. I find it interesting. One of the things we're going to talk about, Joe, is it doesn't seem remarkable, but we may talk about an electric car that gets 100 miles per charge. Not being remarkable. This car was made in 1904, Joe. What do you think of that?
Once again, right? They only allow us to have the technologies they want us to have. Patriot Radio News Hour, 800-951-0592. Jason and I coming right back. It's going to be a very interesting half-empty cup